This is the Uptick Newswire Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews, public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world, with your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, we have a returning guest, and I told you about this company back in October 19th of 2017. At that time, the stock was trading at around 35 cents a share. Well, today it's trading anywhere from 80 cents to $1 a share. We're talking no other than Esports Entertainment Group, Inc. Well, they trade on the OTCQB, ticker symbol GMBL. And with us today is the CEO of the company, going to bring us up to speed of what they've been doing for the last couple of months, Grant Johnson. Grant, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Everett. Good to be back.
You know, give my listeners a little bit about statement of what you guys do and what's your model like.
Okay, well, what we're operating, what we're launching is a player versus player esport bet exchange, where we're focusing all our efforts on the esports industry, where people are betting on professional video game.
That's amazing.
Play.
That is amazing. I don't know why nobody ever thought about this before, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, there are companies that are doing sports book, and they're trying to make book on these events. But we, through our research with the community, we found that the esport fan base was very open to the concept of an exchange where they were betting, fan to fan, player versus player against the house. And the feedback we got was that they would prefer that type of model, so we invested all our time and energy in getting the exchange built. We've gone through our beta testing. We had a lot of feedback from the industry. For those that did follow us, they'll see that our site changed quite radically through last fall to where it is now, which is now the site that's just doing the final credit card testing, and will be going live very, very shortly.
Well, tell us about your current status site and your launch plans. Where are we at in the process?
Okay, well, as I was just saying there, we're very close to live launch. We've done our beta test on our vi.gg site. We've got our mobile site up. We have our desktop version up. All the changes that are on the site were from feedback from the community who did test it out. We've been going through the process with the banks to onboard the credit cards, and we're at the phase now where the banks have done their testing. We're just doing a little bit of live testing with the credit cards. As soon as we've completed that process, which will be a very short horizon before we're done that, we are going live. We expect in the next couple of weeks we'll be full-on launch.
Let's talk about the player base. Can any players bet in the United States, even if they live in Las Vegas, or is this all European?
Yeah, this is going to be it'll be non-U.S. based, because this is third-party betting, so this does fall into the category of sports wagering, which, of course, as everybody in the U.S. is well aware, is basically if you had a license elsewhere, you would not be able to take American wager activity. So this is activity that's focused European, Asian, South American, basically what's referred to as the quote-unquote unregulated markets. We have 2 licenses already, Curacao and a Kanawagi license. We are in the process of applying for a Malta license as well. That'll be our 3rd license. So our focus is not pointed at the United States at this point in time.
Hey, Grant, if you would, educate me on esports entertainment. What's the difference between your company and your competitors, and are they exactly doing what you guys are doing?
Well, no, nobody's doing it exactly like we're doing. There are 2 other groups of competitors out there. The majority of our competitors are basically sportsbook operators that have decided to offer esports as a line extension, just as that, football or rugby or baseball. They're offering it up as just an add-on to their current sports wagering site. What we've learned in our research is a sports enthusiast, a traditional stick and ball sports enthusiast, is not the same person as an esports enthusiast. It's not likely that a fan of Counter-Strike, League of Legends, or Dota, the big titles like that, would also be a fan of the Celtics or the Red Sox, etc. They wouldn't be watching the same sports just for the same reason. Somebody who's a big bettor participates in the March Madness for the NCAA would not likely also then go watch a League of Legends event. It's a different fan base. So we find that those companies that are, the big traditional sportsbook operators are not tracking very well. There are a couple that are dedicated just to esports, who we do see them as competitors, except that what they do, they still operate a traditional sportsbook methodology where the player gives the house the money, the house gives the odds, and then the house bets against that person. And as we know, in a sportsbook operation, the bookmaker has to win at least 55% of the time to stay in business. In our case, because we offer a peer-to-peer wagering platform where we take a percentage of the winner's pot, like a poker room.
Right.
We're winner agnostic. And as we say at Esports Entertainment, the players always win. It's never the house. The house always takes just a piece for hosting the event.
I wanted to talk about your software team and your new CTO, Chief Technical Officer. Bring us up to speed. What's going on with that?
Okay. Well, Jan Rosen has been in the business of building technical backends for sports book operations, as well as a bet exchange platforms for a decade now. He's built over 60 live sites. So he has a wealth of knowledge and experience, and the technical team that Jan brings with him, the programmers that we're using, these are all experienced back-end programmers who have, it's hard to duplicate this type of expertise, as you can imagine. So we have in our office in Warsaw 5 individuals who are dedicated to making sure the platform is functioning properly at all times. We get constant updates, and that's really our big secret weapon in terms of our back end, is we have the exclusive use of the platform. So it's not like a competitor is going to be able to buy it and compete against us. So it is a barrier to entry to those that would like to mimic what we're doing.
My guest today is Grant Johnson. He's the CEO of Esports Entertainment Group. Well, they trade on the OTCQB, ticker symbol GMBL. We talked about this earlier about maybe coming to the States. So what are the future plans and licensing jurisdictions that maybe you might be able to have some sort of strategy here in the States?
Certainly. Well, clearly the U.S. is a huge esports market. Obviously, those who would be listening to this interview would know that the Dota Championship last year had a prize purse of over $20 million. So clearly that's a market we want to be able to have some exposure in. We have a plan to launch our skill-based play platform later this year, hopefully by the fall. We have built the platform already. It hasn't been skinned. We're just working through the process of putting the graphics on it, building a team around it. But a skill-based platform will be the result of somebody's success in the game is directly related to their level of skill in the game. So it'll be person-on-person, small tournament play. There's competitors out there that operate in the States like skills.com. We'll be launching that platform, I would expect, before the end of this year. That is acceptable from our research in 37 states in the United States. So we're going to focus our efforts as far as the U.S. market's concerned when we're ready to launch our skill play platform. For the wagering and gambling part, it's a dynamic area. There are constantly changes in the U.S. and every other market. As the laws change in the U.S. and allow for online sportsbook activity to take place, when a license is acquired and when those licenses are available, we certainly will apply for those licenses in the United States at that time.
You know, it's really funny that you bring that up because I was in Las Vegas a month or two ago, and I saw people on their computers gambling, and so they allow you to gamble playing poker if you're in Las Vegas. You think that might be a resource where you guys could start at for esports gambling?
Yeah, we suspect the sports wagering, which is the category that esports will fall under, will follow a similar path where it'll be state to state. We're watching right now. We're in discussion with many groups that are in the process of discussions with the various state regulators and federal regulators as to how this is going to take place. I expect the next couple of years we'll see probably Nevada being at the forefront, New Jersey perhaps as well. We'll start adding esports to their online offering. When that does happen, we will, as I mentioned, we will start the process of applying for licenses in the various states. And hopefully the rules change enough that you don't have to have servers in every state. And there'll be, a more homogeneous regulatory environment where as long as the state is getting their share of the taxes from the revenues, that the state will be a little more open-minded. But as I said, this is all being discussed right now in the various seats of power in the U.S. And as they get dealt with, we will certainly make our move.
Well, Grant, I want to thank you for coming back on the show. Hopefully next time you won't, wait 6 months to come on there. My guest today is Grant Johnson. In closing, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to touch upon that you would like to maybe illustrate out there to the listeners?
Well, all I would say, Everett, is I think that now that we're ready to launch, I think your listeners and potential investors will be interested in reading the news as we make our announcements after we launch. So I would hope that people will start adding us to their watch list.
Absolutely. Take a look at Esports Entertainment Group. I still think they're undervalued here at 85 cents a share. You can find them on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol GMBL. Grant, thank you very much for coming on the show. Hopefully you'll come back on in about 40 or 50 days.
Excellent. Happy to do so, Everett.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are those of the guests and those of the respective companies they represent, and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Uptick Newswire. Uptick Newswire encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of this program may have paid for its distribution and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Newswire or this station.